good old Russ, Mr. Unlimited. He's got big plans for his stalled-out career. Russell Wilson saying that over the next 5 years, he intends to win not one, but 2 Lombardis. He's going to get 2 Super Bowl trophies, regardless of whether he's in Denver or Pittsburgh, Atlanta. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Now, Wilson added that he intends, and the plan is for him in this random podcast interview that dropped over the weekend, Wilson said that he hopes to achieve the championships in Denver, and says that he is, quote, committed, and ultimately he wants to be there. He wants to be in Denver. All right, so let us discuss the question. Why did Russell Wilson say he wants to stay with the Broncos? That's essentially what the man said. So, I've got gesture, non-essential, and flashing yellow lights. Woo! That's what they sound like. Woo! Flashing yellow lights. All right, so Russell Wilson is dabbling in what in the political world they would call foreign affairs. Right, foreign affairs here. He is being an ambassador to Colorado is what he is doing here, making the Broncos look like the bad guy. I know what he's up to. Says, I want to be with the Broncos. I want to stay in Denver. But
I'm the bad guy.
It's not up to me. It's that evil Sean Payton, that meddling Sean Payton, and he's the reason. But if it was up to me, I would stay. I would stay. All right, Mile High Country and all that. I love it. I love it. So that is the image that he is trying to portray. Good cop, bad cop. He's the good cop. But it is a gesture. It is an empty gesture is what it is. If you follow this at all, Russ has no intention of staying with the Broncos. He knows what's going on. He's seen the graffiti on the wall. He knows how this is going to play out here. And his actions, which are, when I was a kid, I was told your actions mean more than your words, right? What do you actually do? And so the actions paint a much different mosaic than, hey, I want to stay and I want to win 2 championships in the next 5 years. Because unless I'm mistaken, maybe I heard it wrong, I believe Russell Wilson has put his $25 million Colorado estate on the market that he is looking to sell. And I'm told those houses, I'll never own one. Like guys like Cowherd own houses like that. Very difficult to sell. Very difficult. Even if the housing market's booming, if you get a house over a certain amount, there's only a handful of people that can afford that. So good luck. And usually the people that can afford it can just build their own. So they don't need your house. So it becomes a problem. But it ain't my problem. But Russell Wilson, $25 million house on the market. And that is where we are with this particular story. It is an untenable situation in Denver. Sean Payton benched him at the end of last year. We know how that played out. We all talked about it. We witnessed it just a few months ago. So it's a water meet oil situation, which I will point out, when you're cleaning a griddle, I was cooking on the griddle this week, and when you're cleaning a griddle, the water mixed with the oil helps clean the griddle. It's a little trick I learned. I was monitoring. I was scouting. Because I do recon. I was scouting at a burger place, and I learned when they were cleaning the griddle, they poured the water on top of the grease, and that created so much heat that they really easily cleaned the griddle. And I do that now. I pour water all over that. And there's like, it's a smoking. But I digress. So, Russ, this is going to be a historical firing, which is going to happen within the next month or so, probably sooner than later, you would assume. But Russell Wilson will get 39 million dead presidents. Guaranteed. And Denver will have to eat, I hope they have some good barbecue sauce, $85 million in dead cap. Now, I'm a salary cap truther, and they'll just have to get a minimum salaried quarterback. They'll figure it out. You can make the numbers work. The salary cap goes up, so you make the numbers work. Now, page 2. We mentioned this is the greatest week in football. Well, for the foreseeable future. Because of the scouting combine, which is going on in Indianapolis. Well, you will not see the rotund Mike McCarthy. He will not be there. Sean McVay, no. He won't be there. Robert Saleh, the motivational speaker, not going to show up. We're told Jim Harbaugh likely will not be there either. And a number of other coaches will skip the NFL's annual combine in Indy this week. Now, is this a big deal, a little deal, or no deal that these coaches of profile will not be in Indy? So I spent at least 30 seconds thinking about this, and I have determined no deal. This is no deal here. The scouting combine has morphed from its original intention into a made-for-television extravaganza. There used to be a guy that worked here named Chris Landry, who we called him the Fox football scout. I love Landry. Landry's a good dude. In the early days of Fox Sports Radio, and he was one of the people that kind of knew the origins of this and what it was all about, what the intention was. And if I remember correctly, I did a number of shows with Chris. Chris would say, well, they didn't want the cameras in there. They didn't want the attention. They wanted the players just to work out for the scouts, and they didn't want this to be anything more than just a workout situation. And then over the years, the NFL's like, wait a minute, we can get hardos to watch this, and they'll spend their entire week watching dudes in underwear run around, and we can get ratings on this. We can get advertisers. And so it has become this big event, the keynote event, if you will, of this time of the calendar for state-sponsored NFL media. And so it's a 3-day festival, which is really just brainwashing. It's really what it is. It's just brainwashing. But what we've learned when it comes to the coaching part of this, right, the brainwashing is done by the agents and the handlers who team up, and they know certain ways to manipulate, pump the tires on guys and whatnot. But the coaches being there, it is non-essential, right? It is non-essential. It's busybody work. Now, I bet you the guy that's most upset is Mike McCarthy, because there's some good restaurants in Indianapolis, and he could have run up that expense bill at St. Elmo's Steakhouse and had a wonderful time. The Surf and Turf. My friend Denholm, who's a play-by-play guy now, he went with the Surf and Turf, the most expensive thing they had on the menu when I ate at St. Elmo's Steakhouse many, many years ago. But you don't need to be there. You are non-essential as a coach to be there, right? It's pretty much just to show your face and say, oh, look, I'm doing something here. But you're not really doing anything. You can watch the tape that's on the internet. You can do that. It's not required for you to be there, right? The medical exams are supposedly the most important thing. Make sure somebody's knee's not going to fall off right after you draft them. That's the whole point of the combine, is because we do this every year, but the Jets drafted a guy that was legally blind, wide receiver, and the owner freaked out. He said, why did we draft a guy who was like the second or third round? Why did we draft a guy who was legally blind in one eye? Well, we didn't have the good medical on this. Well, okay, so then they started doing it, and then other teams were, wait a minute, they started scouting guys, medical, whatnot, and became a big to-do and all that. All right, now the last word here. The Bengals are – we learned this over the weekend while we were away from our post, and I know you were devastated we were away from our post, but while we were away, we learned the Bengals officially giving Tee Higgins the franchise tag. So where does this leave Higgins? And where does this leave the Cincinnati football team? So Higgins is going to get an astonishing payday, right? Good for him. Mazel tov. Astonishing payday for him. The franchise tag number is somewhere around $21.8 million. So he'll be paying a lot in taxes. Be good by a lot of things for the feds. The feds will get a big chunk of that. 21.8 fully guaranteed for the Bengals to play wide out for Tee Higgins. So Tee Higgins, he becomes top dollar guy as a number 2. Not a number 1, he's a number. That's the beauty of this. Like, and I haven't seen any comments from Higgins camp and what they're saying, and likely will complain. They want a long-term contract and all that. But if you're Tee Higgins, you're clearly pigeonholed as the number 2 receiver in Cincinnati. Like Joe Burrow is going to basketball games. He's not hanging out with Tee Higgins. He's hanging out with Jamar Chase. That's who he's hanging out with, because Jamar Chase is the number 1 wide receiver out there. So you're a number 2 receiver behind Jamar Chase, and you get $21.8 million. Now, from the Bengals side of things, it's a little dicey. It's a little dicey because they're driving around the big rig, and there's this flashing yellow light. That's actually what it sounds like. You'd say a light doesn't make any noise, but that flashing yellow light, it's on a big rig, and it says, the flashing light right below it says oversized load. Oversized load. is what it says, the flashing light. Keep in mind that, from what we understand, the Bengals now have 25.5% of the entire salary cap for next season committed to the quarterback and the wide receiver room. So they'll have to get a bunch of cheap guys at other positions to make the numbers work. You can finagle the numbers and make them work, but that's a top-heavy, which I know a lot of fellows like top-heavy. That's a top-heavy situation. It's not balanced, not hourglass. It's top-heavy. And so the Bengals better have a top-5 passing offense in the NFL to justify the expenditure.